This is the Listener's Lodge, a podcast rooted in Freemasonry. I'm your host, Mitch Denning. Welcome back to the Listener's Lodge. This is episode number 2. I'm joined by Brother Eric Massey, 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason. And I want to give a little of our background before we get into talking about digital media. I have a degree in electronic media production from Middle Tennessee State University. And Eric has done photography for how long?
Roughly on and off for the last 17 years, 18 years now.
I want to talk about today the importance of using digital media inside a lodge. Now, the structure of Masonry is you come into a lodge, and we call that your Blue Lodge. Your Blue Lodge is composed of the first 3 degrees of Masonry: your Entered Apprentice, your Fellow Craft, and your Master Mason. Now, in the state of Tennessee, there are a lot of, I'll say, older gentlemen in Blue Lodges.
A lot of people are about ready to die.
Yes, and they're not tech savvy. So when you come to them and say, hey, let's post a picture about our upcoming event on Facebook, and they might know what Facebook is, but if you bring in Instagram, they're not going to have a clue. So as a new generation of Masons are coming in, we think it is necessary to have a digital presence.
We do?
I think it's necessary. Eric, do you think that we should have a digital presence in, your lodge?
I mean, I think it'd be a good thing for Masonry and, just to show, hey, we're still in the community, we're still out there. But something we always have to remind ourselves is we cannot advertise. And
Right.
Is this a portion considered advertisement, or am I just showing off what my lodge is doing for the community?
Right. And that's one thing I wanted to get to. As Freemasons, you can't advertise for membership. Like you can't ask somebody to be a Mason. So how do you have a social media presence without advertising for membership? Which is possible, but there are gray areas. But really what I'm talking about is, say at your Blue Lodge is having a breakfast and you want to post a picture and say, hey, come out to our breakfast. That somebody may see that and come out that is not a Mason and want to become one after they see the guys that they meet at that event.
Essentially, whenever you look at it from that perspective, way we do our Facebook grouping is you have to be a member of our lodge in order to be a part of this,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not so much a public ordeal.
Gotcha.
It's just showing our brothers who may not be able to come or the ones that are traveling all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It shows them, hey, this is what your lodge is doing. This is essentially where your money is going to.
Yeah.
And that's another big issue for another topic, but
Sure. Sure.
at the end of the day, we want to show our brothers like, hey, this is what we're doing to progress our lodge. This is what we're doing in the communities if we're doing anything community related,
Right.
And especially like a lot of our fundraisers through pancake breakfasts or my lodge, we used to do one every year for CMA week, where we'll have a hot dog sale and we'll do it from Thursday all the way through Sunday.
Yeah.
And we created the Facebook page. I want to say it has always been there, but not as active until probably about a year or two before I got involved with Masonry.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Nice. So you would be more along the lines of just the members of the lodge being on the Facebook and it being kind of a closed group, and you just tell them like, hey, this is what we're doing. Promote it that way. Because that's what we've been doing within the Scottish Rite.
Right.
And we'll get to that in a minute. But I do think there has to be, at least this is how we do it at my lodge. We have a public Facebook page, and any event that we have, we'll post an image or something to say, hey, this is what we're having. The public can come to those things and just have people share that post and be like, oh, well, I didn't know Portland Lodge had a Facebook page. We made a documentary a few years ago and got that documentary on the Facebook page. So maybe they'll stumble on that, non-Masons, and watch it and think, wow, I didn't know that it had so much history in the city I live in. I need to check them out. And when you are posting something on social media for a lodge, you're not necessarily riding the line of, quote, breaking the rules or not breaking the rules. If you're just, promoting an event that you're having, telling them that this is what we're doing, come out. But it's also not breaking the rules to create a photograph or a video/film like we did at Portland Lodge and just put it out there for people to watch. That is not necessarily advertising for membership, but it shows them what we're doing, and maybe like we did at Portland, the history of it. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback. And on our Facebook page, it gives the uninitiated, the profane audience, a way to contact us. Because my mom actually told me today that the person she used to work under, the principal at the school she works at, he found out that I was a Mason, didn't know that I was a Mason, but then said, I don't know why nobody has ever asked me to be a Mason. I've always wanted to be one. And my mom told him, they can't ask you. You have to approach them. And he was like, whoa, I had no idea. And so that's
part of the beauty in it all too. At the same time is, there are people that are out there who always want to be one, but they don't necessarily ask the right questions.
Right.
And something I was told from a very good friend of mine, he said, Masonry is not something you do, it's something that you get called upon doing. And so a lot of times people that find themselves in the dark all these years to come to find out when they're 60, all I had to do was ask one. Well, right. It means nothing to me now, but that's all I had to do. But at the end of the day, that's what makes it special.
Yes.
And if you were a close friend of a Mason, they probably talked about Masonry, but you never asked anything else about it.
Exactly. And when I came into the lodge, my grandfather was the secretary of Portland Lodge. And I had gotten active and wanted to make t-shirts to present to the lodge to say, hey, we can wear these t-shirts, as brothers, not really sell them for a profit, but just make a t-shirt. And I put on the back Uncle Sam pointing. And I wrote, to be one, ask one, which the Grand Lodge of Tennessee has no problem with. So I got one shirt made to show the lodge. Well, I ended up going over to my grandparents' house for something unrelated, but brought that shirt with me before that lodge meeting. I showed him the shirt and flipped it over, showed him what it said. And he didn't really say much about it until my grandmother asked him, what do you think about it? And he kind of shook his head. He didn't agree with the phrasing, to be one, ask one. And he told me, he said, now the Grand Lodge has no problem with it. But he said he's never agreed with it. So you will come in contact with older Masons that just won't agree with.
They'll agree to not disagree either.
Exactly. So long story short on that matter, I ended up not showing the t-shirt to the lodge because I just let it go. And they got me kind of my first taste of the older generation and how they act in different things like that. And that brings in how will they think about making videos or
Yeah.
photos?
Right. And like my lodge is a pretty activist lodge within Tennessee.
Right.
And we've done a lot of good things.
Mhm.
And one of the easiest things that we are trying to start was an Instagram page, right?
Yeah.
But then the next question is, what do we photograph?
Right. Yeah.
Do we photograph this? Can we photograph that? What if the lodge is set up? Can we photograph that? Are we really even breaking any rules at that point? And essentially the answer is no. That's the quick and easy answer.
Right.
It is no. As long as it's not an open lodge, which is basically a tiled lodge, or a lodge that has been called and open for transactions of business. So it as long as you're not doing any of that,
Right.
can we do it is yes.
So
But should we do it?
probably not. So you're not writing a line if you post a video or post a picture. Yes, you can do that. Some of the things are kind of gray areas in people's minds. First, you'll probably make one of the older gentlemen not mad, but upset first before you actually break any rules. So, but to tie it all together, the to be one, ask one phrase and media, you're not, because they're the same thing. Using the phrase to be one, ask one, you're telling somebody to ask me, you want to be a Mason? Just ask me. That's pretty close to advertising.
And that's why I don't believe in that printed materials that suggest it, because it's like at that point now you are asking, you are kind of advertising, like,
absolutely,
hi, I am one.
Yeah.
You want to be one? Come ask me,
Right.
Our lodge likes to go by, if you don't know the person 6 months or longer, why are they here?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you become friends first.
Absolutely.
Then you get to know this person as I got to be known. You know what I mean? And then it becomes an invite. Hey, we do dinners on Thursday. Come on down to the lodge. I'd like to introduce you to a few of my friends.
For sure.
You see, you're not asking them, you're inviting. So there's a difference there, and whenever it goes along the lines of advertising, like the pancake breakfasts and stuff like that, you're inviting the overall public to come and sit and visit and have pancakes.
Yeah.
So it's like you go into a Piccadilly, essentially, is all you're really doing.
Right. So I agree with what you're saying, but all I really wanted to point out was that the Grand Lodge has no issue with using that phrase, to be one, ask one. And that's why I don't think that we should be as scared as we get to do media for a Blue Lodge or for Scottish Rite, is because, you're not doing any harm, and you're not promoting anything. You're not promoting membership in Masonry. And that is always what comes up when I have conversations about using social media in my Blue Lodge or in any type of Masonic forum. It's always the topic of discussion. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, just don't look into the camera and say, I want you,
It's not like we're being scared or timid to, think outside the box. We just want to look at how far is too far.
Right.
It is ultimately, whenever it comes to media and Facebook these days, is how far is too far. Because you don't want to go too far over and then you can't come back from it.
Right. Because once it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's done with.
And so that's what we have to do as when we're doing these videos and media stuff and photography. And not only that, you also got to look at the print material we put out too.
Exactly.
So when we're doing all of that, and as long as we're consistent and with the values and morals and the lessons that we get taught,
Mhm.
everything should be fine. The second you feel like you're scared to post it, should you post it?
Probably shouldn't. And I've been in situations like that before.
So those are some of the baselines I go off of. You know, like if
Mhm.
I'm in public outing with my brothers and we're doing something,
Mhm.
then yeah, by all means.
Oh, absolutely.
In lodge, yeah, take photos. You can. You know, like of initiates to passings and raisings. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Is doing those three things. We do take pictures of those,
Mhm.
and we do allow those to be posted on their public profiles.
Yeah.
So things of that nature is fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's just whenever you want to put written word to the actual still,
Exactly.
that's where the case for concern comes in.
Yeah. I totally get that.
As long as it's not blatantly disregarding everything.
Mm-hmm. So essentially what we're getting at is it's good to use those platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just still be careful. I'm not saying go on a posting rampage
right?
and just give away everything. No, that's not what I'm saying. But at least have some kind of a presence. I feel like it's necessary in the time that we're in because everybody is on Facebook.
See, and that's what you're talking about. We haven't said it before, but presence. That's all we really want to reignite is,
Yes.
hey, we're here. It's going to be here well after I'm here, and it was here well before I even got here.
Yes.
Okay, I think I said that backwards, but okay, we'll go with it.
No, I think it made sense. I think it made sense.
We'll just go with it. And, you know, and so at the end of the day, our presence is still going to be here. How known? Who knows? Only time will tell.
Right.
And if we don't start a different presence, the membership could really hurt from it.
It could. Because Masonry has had to adapt throughout the years. And I think we're at a time now where Masonry is going to have to adapt, and it will. I'm not saying it's going to either adapt or go out of existence. I think it'll adapt. But what does Masonry look like in 50 years? I mean,
in a way, that's what we start now. And if you look
Right.
what we're doing, segueing here,
yes,
and that's what we're doing in the Scottish Rite.
absolutely.
You know, with our video works that we've done and the other publications that we've come up with, because with this international gathering that the KSA is holding,
Mhm.
you know, and all the video work we've done for that,
Mhm.
you know, we're not releasing any information about what's going to be shown in it,
Right.
but we are trying to bring in a crowd.
Exactly.
And this is going to be open to the public.
Mhm.
You know, you don't have to be a Mason. We would love for you to be a Mason to come,
Yeah.
but you don't have to be.
Right.
Where we're trying to keep it to where majority of the offerings on this particular event is open to anybody.
Mhm.
And it's just to get that exposure out there as well.
Mhm.
And so through our few videos that we've already done, you can put those on YouTube in a
Mhm.
YouTube channel. Heck, you can probably use that as a commercial, you know?
Yeah. And that's what we've
Because
done.
we can do that. That's some
Yeah.
of the leeways we get in the Scottish Rite.
Absolutely. And I do want to kind of preface that. The KSA, what he was talking about, is the Knights of St. Andrew in the Nashville Valley of the Scottish Rite. So we're both members of the Knights of St. Andrew organization within the Scottish Rite. And there is an international KSA event. We call it a gathering. And it's every 2 years. And it is really worldwide. I mean, we have brothers.
Hence the name international.
Yeah, but I
I'm just
do want to say
saying.
there is an event, you know, biennial, not biannual, biennial. So every 2 years, there is an event that the KSA holds, and Nashville is hosting it next year. So what we have been doing is promoting that event with photos, with videos, and have been pretty successful. I mean, I know COVID, we made one video and then COVID hit. the date changed, so we had to make another video. And then now we're in the same boat where we still have to make another video for that event.
So yeah, we probably got like 5, I say 5 more at least good promotional videos that we could get out in between now and December.
Oh yeah.
Great, I'm putting them on the spot right now, but
we'll see if that happens.
It's going to be hard work. The goal is 5. If we get 2, 3, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of us doing the filming in the summer, not so much in the cold of Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then we have other programs within the Scottish Rite that we promote as well. Mm-hmm. We have the Journey Passport program, which had just kicked off this last reunion. And from what I understand, it really took heat and it sailed on off,
Yeah.
And not to say it was just from Mitch and my efforts, but, from Warren Stewart.
Yeah.
He's the brains behind this whole thing to make it happen.
Yeah.
And without his ingenuity in making the things that he did for it to actually bring it to life. Because the backstory behind this program is essentially how we would like to get the Blue Lodge on board with it. Be able to promote little things, little gatherings as such. Mm-hmm. So like, it's not just my lodge. It's not just your lodge.
Right.
But get events together that we can also make our brotherhood stronger and therefore be seen without being told about it.
Exactly.
And in a way, that's just how that passport program took off.
Yes.
No one ever seen it. No one ever heard of it, except maybe a week and a half before the event happened. Mm-hmm. But obviously we showed another video at the event.
Yeah.
But even whenever people didn't see it, but they heard about it, they were already excited. Now they're seeing it and they have the actual passport in their hands. It's like, wow, cool. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I heard about it. Now I see it.
Absolutely. And yeah, that when Warren had first had that idea for the passport, I thought it was a good idea. But to see it actually happen, I was impressed. And I mean, it's not very hard to impress me, but I was still impressed. And to be involved with it is it was an honor, so to speak, to be involved with that process, because it could essentially be big for, the Nashville Valley. I mean, for its members, because it gets its own members active in the Valley. It has the potential to get them active in their own Valley. You complete a task and get it done. But what we did for that, Eric and I, is Eric did some still photos of basically product photography and just of the passport and different pages in it that highlight some of the tasks that the brother will be asked to perform within this passport. And Eric and I both filmed Warren, just talking about the passport in more detail. Now, before we filmed Warren, we did have a day where, so Warren had contacted me after he had the passport ready, and he didn't have a physical copy in, but it was done. He was really, really excited about it. And he contacted me. He was like, "Hey man, can we get a promotional video made of this?" I was like, "Absolutely. Let's plan it out. Let's get it going." And we, had a conversation, and then we scheduled a day. We scheduled a day to film it. And I contacted you. I was like, I want you to be there and, help out, take pictures, and I think it'd be cool. And I always have Eric look at my lighting to anything. I mean, you see what you're seeing right now is because of Eric. I had a lighting scenario set up, but it looks better now. But
it's not all me.
Well, not all, but he helps out a lot. So that day we had a KSA meeting, after I talked with Warren about making a video. And during that KSA meeting on Zoom, I
forgot about that.
Yeah. So Warren and I and we told them that we were going to film a video for the passport. Well, during that call, I was like, well, we have a a meditation club. While we're there, why don't we just make a video for the meditation club?
Mm.
And then
it transpires to 6 videos later.
Yes. And
in
then
a whole month of our time.
Yeah. And then somebody else said, well, why don't we go ahead and do one for our Master Craftsman Study Club that we have going on? And we were like, yeah. And then our Venerable Master was like,
I'm going to get all these old hats that were members to come in and speak. Wait, what?
Yeah. And so it turned into something really big, which turned out phenomenal. Like the products we got from it I felt like were outstanding. And I'm not tooting my own horn because everybody had a hand in it. But we met at the Grand Lodge, where the Scottish Rite meets. And we sat, several brothers down, in the same chair, same lighting setup, had them cut several lines for different videos. And then we moved to a new location with somebody else, filmed them there after setting up a lighting situation, and then moved again and had a lot of content for, I think that day was just 3 videos. Well, and a promo. So it was 4 videos.
Yeah, it was 4 videos all rolled into one thing.
Right.
Well, one thing turned out 4 videos, should I put it that way? But yeah, a very busy day.
It was a very busy day, which turned into kind of a busy couple of months after that, making these videos. That meant something to both of us that it turned out well, and that's why we keep on going back. It's like somebody playing golf. I mean, somebody really loves golf. That one day that they are killing it, doing just outstanding on the golf course is what keeps them coming back. Because you can go out on the golf course and do terrible.
But it's that one time.
But it's that one time you
it's
get
like
a
that
hole
one
in
puff on that one cigarette, and you're chasing it ever since. Chasing that dragon. What can we say?
You're addicted. So that is essentially where we're at now. Whether that's good or bad, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's just, after a big, long 2-month of nothing but videos.
Oh, yeah.
And editing and all this other cool stuff. But,
and then I ask you to do a podcast.
We still need to have breaks. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And, I'm down for it, just like Mitch is. But sometimes I will forget about me.
I'm bad about that too.
And, and after these 2 weeks and everything, we finally get all of them launched. Everything's good. The reunion happened. Everything was a success. I get a phone call, not even by 3:00 that same afternoon. Hey, can we do a film on Saturday? No.
No, we're taking a
break.
But
here we are doing a podcast with videos.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm not touching these videos. I'll allow Mitch to handle all of this one.
Yeah.
Not playing.
Eric came over and saw the camera set up, and he said, Mitch, don't you know you're just doing a podcast? I said, well, I wanted video too. So,
but, only Mitch.
But it's something that I enjoy, and it's a topic that I enjoy. And I wanted to, brand this podcast in a way that we could talk about lodge stuff, and we could talk about, absolutely. And I said I wanted to brand this. Eric was the one who created this masterpiece, work of art.
I wouldn't go that far with it, but it's something.
For the listeners' lodge. And I wanted to open up to, many different topics and not only stick to just Masonry, but I wanted to have a Masonic root. So it's going to be a lot of Masonic stuff because that's a big part of our lives. Going back to making videos for the Scottish Rite.
I just wish we could adopt the same or a similar mentality in the Blue Lodge. Aside from verbatimly asking someone to be a Mason.
Right.
Because I know a lot of people will go their whole lives knowing a Mason, but never explain to that person they are expressing that much interest in it and then inviting them down to the lodge. Mm-hmm. That's ultimately where it starts, is that invite. You're not asking the person.
Mm-hmm.
hey, I invite you to come down, every Thursday or whenever you have the next gathering, is, hey, I have the shindig and I would like for you to come, and then over, several months, he'll probably keep coming back and keep coming back.
Yeah.
If it's a place that fosters that kind of brotherly love, and media can't necessarily fill that void.
Exactly. It can't.
And that's why it's like I love what I do, and I'm glad I'm able to do it. And I don't have problems taking pictures within a lodge, of a lodge,
Yeah.
the intricates about a lodge. But when you put media and masonry, people automatically think advertisement.
Right.
And it's not advertisement.
It's not.
It's literally, hey, this is what we've done.
Yeah.
This is what our lodge looks like.
Yeah. Or this is what we're doing and we're planning to do.
Right.
Actively,
And I'm like, as long as you keep within those bounds, it should be fine.
Oh, yeah.
Because just like with the videos we're doing in the Scottish Rite, we're not asking anybody to become a member of anything.
No. But hey, you can advertise. You can ask somebody to be a Scottish Rite Mason.
But see, because they have to be a Mason first.
Right. They have to be.
That's the difference. And like if somebody asks you, hey, how do I become a Scottish Rite Mason? Well, first you got to be part of a Blue Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
What's a Blue Lodge? And then that's how that gets that person moving to becoming a Mason.
For sure. Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely.
So, I mean, because there's several people that, there are people that kind of join Masonry to be a Shriner.
Yeah.
And that's the process that they go through.
Mm-hmm.
If they just want to be a Shriner and they've been hanging out and, they want to do the Blue Lodge stuff too, but it's always, hey, you got to be Blue Lodge Mason, So in a way, by showing different sides to what Masonry holds, it's not advertisement again. We're showing them what we have to offer.
You're showing them what you do. You're showing them what kind of guys are in the fraternity. And they can make their own conclusion as to what they want to do with that information. I mean, you present somebody with media. I mean, take somebody to a movie. Take 100 people to a movie. You're not going to get 100 same responses from that movie out of these people.
And that's why it's important for those people to see the beauty of it.
Right.
And no media message or, hey, I want you to be a Mason. What's that? You're actually taking this person or you're bringing this person as a friend into not in a way a lifestyle, but your friends that you play life with.
Yeah.
I play a lot of life here recently with Mitch.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been on phone calls till 2 in the morning.
We've been on phone calls. We've been out to dinners. We've been out. We haven't done nothing too much fun lately, but, you know, it's been mostly at dinners. Just that's fun in itself,
Talking about projects.
Yeah. Talking about projects, but, it's still life,
Right.
And I can't just bring somebody in I met today. I want you to meet a really good friend of mine, Mitch. I could, but it's not going to have the same impact on that person had I known them 6 months or longer. You know?
Exactly.
It's that impact. It's that person, stuff.
The personal connection you have. And bringing in personal, Masonry in itself is one of the most individualistic organizations in the world. I mean, it is what you want to get from Masonry is what you get out of it. And you can't sell that. You can't. So even if we wanted to promote Masonry, I don't know, even if you could promote Masonry, I don't know if you would want to. Because you cannot sell someone's personal experience. I can tell you what I've gotten out of Masonry. You can tell me what you've gotten out of Masonry and why we love it And that may be two totally different answers.
So now go back to that whole t-shirt idea. And how would you look at it from your grandfather's perspective?
I get it. Yeah. And I've always got it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you didn't.
Right.
But, it's just expressing that point again.
For sure.
You're telling them to ask one.
Exactly.
Which is, in a way, advertising it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you never seen the person, but you're wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's no fault to, the older generation.
Oh, yeah.
They love Masonry just like we love Masonry. And they have their own standards of what Masonry should look like. And so does everybody.
Right. And just by us doing these videos, I'm happy to see the response we're getting.
Yeah.
Because it very easily could be the other way. Very easily.
Yeah.
And it's not because we're doing anything wrong. It's just, say, for instance, one person could turn into 10 people. That turns into 100. That could turn into 1,000 people that don't want these videos being made.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And that's why I'm really happy with the response we're getting.
Right.
I have not heard of any complaints from what we have done. And because we're going about it the right way.
Right. Exactly. I haven't heard anything either.
Right. And it's just like making a documentary. We technically did that. We called it the Grand Lodge Tour,
Yeah.
when we created the Grand Lodge Tour.
That's a big project that I didn't think about.
Yeah.
To talk.
And then you pair that with your lodges. That's pretty much the tour of your lodge because it provides all the history. Yeah. Just like the Grand Lodge Tour did. Mm-hmm. It provided a lot of history. It touched on a lot of notes.
It did.
And meant that literal too.
Absolutely. Yes. So how we came about to do that, a brother at an event who is a 33rd degree Mason, he leaned over to me and said, "Hey, there is a tour that the Secretary of the Scottish Rite does, and it is phenomenal." He said, "I want that on film." And I said, "Okay, done." So we got it together. We made it happen, and it is there for you guys.
For the world, essentially.
For the world.
Anybody can see that.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, is you give histories, you give lessons. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's something that could be orchestrated in the Blue Lodge media world. Could. And it could also be disseminated on your public profile, Yeah.
And
that's when we'll stop.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, and going along that fact, you should be a walking Masonic advertisement with the way you
carry yourself.
Absolutely. And, not even sending subliminal messages to somebody, just by the person you are and the energy you put off.
And just as it said, people would judge you by your actions.
I wanted to have you on to just go over and not necessarily talk about one specific thing, but just promote a media presence in lodges. And there are not a lot of young Masons coming in to one particular lodge. So I say that to, give a disclaimer that if you are a young man in a lodge and you want to do social media work for that lodge, it's going to be on you. You're not going to have any help unless, you join, say, the Scottish Rite.
But see, hold on. Hold that thought for a second.
Yeah.
That's what I love about what's going on in one of the other lodges in Nashville. It's actually a lodge now comprised of almost 50-50 young to old ratio, And
now that's unheard of.
From 20 to 30 years old. You got a group of people there. From 30 to 50, you got a group there. From 50 to 70, you got a group there. It's a real well-rounded lodge. And they're starting to become more progressive in their approach to it. And they are wanting to actually get in touch with other lodges and see who out of those other lodges would like to basically create almost what we're talking about here today, a media presence for Blue Lodge. So it's happening. And that's the other part to Masonry. If you feel like you're alone and you're the only one in your lodge that wants to do this, you're not alone in that.
Exactly.
But there are other like-minded individuals from other lodges, and that's why it's important to travel as well.
Right. And if your lodge shoots down the idea of social media,
fine.
Don't get a bad rep with your own lodge and, shove it down their throats that you want to do.
Right. Don't strangle,
media.
Don't strangle them. It is what it is, and it's going to be.
Yeah.
And that's why if you find other like-minded individuals, yes, you would prefer it to be for your lodge. But if you show them what you're doing for this other lodge and bring it back to them,
and
who's to say?
Yeah, and how it's helped them.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like a good business plan, essentially,
For sure.
You don't just, you can just shoot from the hip.
You can.
But that's only going to get you so far.
Right.
But if you have a well thought out idea and you can present that well thought out idea, the more people you can sway into these avenues.
Right.
Instead of being like, boom, here you go.
Yeah.
Wait, what is this? We didn't want that.
Right.
And so, sometimes we feel like we are such horrible people for thinking this way. And then we feel like we got shut out because it was not the idea of the collective.
Right. And I mean, as a young Mason, you're going to run into that.
Right.
Because you're not going to have the same mindset as somebody 50 years older than you or even 30 years older than you.
Heck,
I mean,
1 year.
1 year. I mean, there's 10-year difference between you and I, and we don't think the same way. But there are some things that we're just like spot on the same wavelength, and that is in media.
Pretty much.
And that's why we work so well together, and that we've produced all these videos, with the Knights of St. Andrew.
Well, we don't have to say with the Knights of St. Andrew for that, in my opinion, because essentially that's how we met. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do it through the Knights of St. Andrew, but the countless hours that we spend on this,
That is true.
it's just him and I. I and him.
Yeah. He took grammar.
It's just us, and if you ever want to take the gander out there to go look for these videos, they're not hard to find, are they?
They're not hard to find. You can see all the videos that we have produced for the Valley of Nashville Scottish Rite on their own YouTube page. And a lot of our videos and different content, what we're doing, is on the KSA's website, NashvilleKSA.com.
And that's what a two-man team can do.
Yep. And I want to thank Eric for coming on the podcast, episode 2, the first podcast I'm doing with video, and the first guest.
Well, thank you for the invite, and it's been my pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. I hope to definitely have you on in the future. But
oh yes, hopefully talk a little bit more about psychology.
I would love that. I would love that.
Psychology is fun, and it ties right into photography, videography, and everything else.
It does. But to all of you guys, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time.